Good evening. There was no favouritism. The American businesswoman has broken her silence over her relationship with Boris Johnson while he was London Mayor. Jennifer Arcuri has been at the centre of a growing row over whether he failed to declare a conflict of interest when she received grants and access to foreign tours. The Prime Minister has always denied breaching any code of conduct, but the London Assembly has told Mr Johnson he must respond to their investigation this week. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has the latest.
I'm here to tell the truth, to tell my side of the story.
I've said everything I'm going to say on that particular subject.
Jennifer Arcuri and Boris Johnson. She's an American businesswoman. He's the British Prime Minister. And once upon a time, they were good friends.
I'm ready to hang out. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, look at that. Boris is hanging out.
They were such good friends, he was a guest speaker at 4 events she organised to promote London's growing tech businesses. They first met at a business conference when he was London Mayor.
We immediately bonded over this kind of, mutual love of classic literature and particularly Shakespeare.
Miss Arcuri was given more than £16,000 by the Mayor's promotional agency, London and Partners, to fund 2 events. She also took part in overseas trade missions organised by City Hall, and that's led to questions about their relationship.
It's really categorically no one's business what private life we had or didn't have, and categorically more important, Boris never, ever gave me favoritism.
On the record, did you ever have any intimate relationship with Boris Johnson? Yes or no?
I really am not going to answer that question.
So you won't deny it?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to be putting myself in a position for you to weaponize my answer.
The Prime Minister is now facing 3 separate investigations over his links to Miss Arcuri when he was Mayor. Under the Greater London Authority's Code of Conduct, he had a duty to declare any conflict of interest.
If Boris Johnson has used his position in order to personally benefit a friend, that's a serious issue, and of course it wasn't declared. And actually it doesn't matter really whether or not they were in a sexual relationship. In some ways that's a distraction. The GLA's Code of Conduct is very clear that it covers family and friends.
Jennifer Arcuri ran her business from a combined flat and office she rented above a bar in Shoreditch, the heart of London's tech sector. Miss Arcuri said the then Mayor visited the flat a handful of times. She didn't give a precise number, saying at one point in the interview it was 5 times, then 10 times. When Boris Johnson took part in a tech industry event in New York in 2015, Miss Arcuri was also there, one of 3 foreign trips she was allowed to take part in. On each one, she was told she didn't qualify to be a delegate, but was allowed anyway.
Have you met the woman that runs the Mayor's export team? Nothing gets past that woman. She's extremely fierce. She didn't sit me down and let me pass because I was Boris's friend.
The Prime Minister was visiting a hospital in Watford today. He maintains no rules were broken and last week insisted there was no interest to declare. He wouldn't talk about Miss Arcuri today.
Look, I've said everything I'm going to say on that particular subject, and I'm here to talk about the NHS and the investment that we're making in Watford Hospital.
Jennifer Arcuri was questioned for an hour on live television. She said she cared about Mr Johnson deeply, as a friend.
Thank you so much.
Next tonight, Boris Johnson had until just a few minutes ago to answer questions about his relationship with the American businesswoman Jennifer Arcuri. The deadline set by a London Assembly investigation was 6 p.m. Well, let's go live now to our political correspondent Simon Harris, who is at City Hall. So, Simon, what has been the response from Downing Street?
Well, so far, Lucrezia, the Prime Minister has given little away about his relationship with Jennifer Arcuri. She's the American tech entrepreneur he met at a business conference when he was Mayor, and she says they became good friends. She was given almost £14,000 of public money and was allowed on 3 overseas trade missions with the Mayor, although City Hall officials had said she didn't qualify to be on those trips. Well, a fortnight ago, the London Assembly's Oversight Committee, which is investigating whether there's a conflict of interest, sent a letter to Mr Johnson asking him to say exactly what his contacts with her were. They gave him a 2-week deadline. That deadline passed a short time ago, and I'm joined now by Len Duval, who's the chair of the London Assembly Oversight Committee. Mr Duval, first of all, what have you heard from Downing Street?
Well, we've heard nothing at the moment, but we're told by other sources that Downing Street will be responding tonight. We think there's been a bit of confusion over the time, whether they're working to Greenwich Mean Time or Central European Time. But either way, I hope the response we get provides some answers, which I think to some very important allegations out there, and it does require the Prime Minister to explain his actions at the time when he was Mayor of London.
You're a Labour member of the Assembly. You sparred with him regularly across the chamber when he was the Conservative mayor. He said these investigations by City Hall are politically motivated. Does he have a case?
No, because I think if you read any London Assembly report, it is based on evidence and facts, and I'm very clear. What I wanted to do is look at these allegations, look at where the evidence is, hear from the Prime Minister direct himself, hence why we've given him this deadline to respond to, and then we can clarify matters of whether did he, at the time of being Mayor of London, break any code of conduct.
Len de Waal, thank you very much for talking to us. Well, we wait to hear whether the Prime Minister is going to respond this evening. So far, he said that all his dealings with Jennifer Arcuri were in proper accordance with the rules. Lucrezia.
All right, Simon, we await that response. Thank you. Good evening. The London Assembly say they are furious at the response given by the Prime Minister into questions over his relationship with an American businesswoman. Boris Johnson was asked to provide details of all contact between him and Jennifer Arcuri when he was London Mayor, during which time she was given thousands of pounds of public funding. He denies any conflict of interest. The London Assembly say his confidential response is insufficient and should be made public, as our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
City Hall gave the Prime Minister 2 weeks to provide answers. Yesterday evening, the deadline came and went with no response. Then, just over an hour late, a letter in the form of an email arrived. Was Boris Johnson finally going to reveal all about his relationship with Jennifer Arcuri? Apparently not. It's understood the letter from someone representing the Prime Minister was marked private and confidential, not for publication. London Assembly members were furious. City Hall lawyers immediately went to work to see if there was a way around the gagging instruction. This evening, Len de Waal, the chair of the London Assembly Oversight Committee, released a statement saying nothing in the response, in our opinion, reflects the need for confidentiality. In fact, the response is insufficient as far as our request for information is concerned.
It's like playing games. That's all the former mayor does as Prime Minister now. He likes to play games. We will get to the bottom of this. We will ask him questions in public if we need to. He needs to come clean because this is public money that's involved here and we need to make sure that no rules have been broken.
The Assembly wanted Mr Johnson to supply details of all of his contacts with Miss Arcuri during his time as mayor. She was given £14,000 of public money to organise 2 business events and travelled on 3 overseas trade missions with the mayor, even though officials said she didn't qualify. In an exclusive interview with ITV on Monday, she refused to deny they had an affair.
Boris never, ever gave me favouritism.
The Prime Minister's critics suspect he failed to disclose a conflict of interest. His supporters say the attacks on him are politically motivated. Daniel Moylan worked as the Mayor's transport advisor and thinks City Hall's motives are suspect to say the least.
Obviously, the whole thing is politically motivated. The timing is politically motivated. Nobody believes this will be happening if Boris Johnson wasn't Prime Minister. And what's terrifying them, of course, is that he's the person who wants to deliver Brexit, which is what they're so opposed to. And that's why it's all come up now.
Boris Johnson stood down as Mayor of London in 2016, but the London Assembly can still issue a summons for him to appear in person. It's a power it's already used once before to question him about the failed Garden Bridge project. Mr Johnson may yet find himself back on familiar ground, facing uncomfortable questions.
Simon, we still don't know exactly what was said in that letter. What happens now?
Well, the London Assembly clearly hasn't got answers to when, where and how often Mr Johnson and Miss Arcuri met. My understanding is that the Prime Minister's representative has less given answers than reasons why he shouldn't give answers. And that is possibly because there's also separately an independent referral of this case to the Independent Office for Police Conduct to see if he's guilty of misconduct in public office. The London Assembly's next move is to decide next week whether to summons him to appear.
All right, Simon, thank you.
Good evening. First, smoking was banned on London's transport network. Then it was alcohol. Could all drinks and food be next? That's one of the proposals from the outgoing Chief Medical Officer, Dame Sally Davis, as a way to tackle obesity, particularly in children. But the Mayor told ITV London he would not support a ban, saying he is more than happy for Londoners to eat on the move, as long as it's something healthy. Our political correspondent, Simon Harris, reports.
For almost 200 years, eating and drinking on the train has been a rite of passage. Watching the world go by with a snack or a meal is one of the pleasures of rail travel. And for those with a hectic lifestyle, it's an essential part of the daily timetable.
I won't have time to really stop for food, so I'm taking the opportunity while I'm sitting for around 20 minutes on a train to have some bite to eat.
Looking out the window, going to the seaside, having a bit of snack.
I'm eating Doritos, tangy cheese. Is my favorite snack from England because we don't have it in Slovakia.
But if England's soon-to-retire Chief Medical Officer has her way, all commuter trains and buses would become food-free zones as part of the government's drive against childhood obesity. And that would mean lifestyle changes for many adults too. Waiting on a cold platform, what could be better than a drink to warm you up on the way to work? But unless it's hot water, forget it. No time for breakfast, so you grab a bite to eat on the move. But that would be banned too. As for a relaxing drink after a hard day at work, don't even think about it. And what about something to soak it all up on the way home after a night out? Not anymore.
The public are clear in the polling. They want government to take bold action. They believe we should look after our children. So we're going to have to do some things that might inconvenience the odd adult.
11 years ago, London's new mayor, Boris Johnson, introduced a booze ban on the tube. Hours before it began, thousands of Londoners held an unofficial party on the Circle line. So would London's current mayor be in favour of extending the ban to food?
I've got no plans to ban people eating food on the TfL network. What I do want to do is make sure people are eating the right sorts of food.
Do you think food should be banned as an idea?
No, I think what I want people to do is eat the right sorts of food. I've got no problems with people eating healthy food and eating sensible food.
For many passengers, buying a snack or a drink at the station is part of the journey. Any ban on eating and drinking could have a huge impact on the lives of London's commuters.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your lunch, Simon.
Lunches.
I feel like this would be a tough ban to police, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the proposed ban on food and drink would only apply to commuter services, not to intercity trains. But that would still affect hundreds of thousands of people coming into central London every day and presumably going home again. Now, the Chief Medical Officer's thinking on policing is that people generally obey the law. Now, if you look at what's happened on the tube with the alcohol ban, they persuade people not to drink if they catch them. They say, dispose of it, leave the bus or leave the tube or leave the station. In 11 years, not a single person has been prosecuted, even though it is a criminal offence and there's a fine of £1,000.
Interesting. Simon, many thanks.